Oh, hi guys. So, I recently had the misfortune of watching My Little Pony, the brand new movie on Netflix. Now, this movie caused a bit of controversy. It's, in a nutshell, very pro-Democrat and very anti-Trump, very anti-Republican. To give you guys a bit of a backstory, the previous incarnation of My Little Pony was called Friendship is Magic. The show was initially aimed at 11-year-old girls. It quickly gained a bit of a cult following due to the quality of the writing, the excellence of the animation, which looked a lot like a lot of the old Flash movies, which were really popular near the start of the internet, and the characters, who were quite complex, really thought out, and had a really good backstory. They had a lot of depth. Friendship is Magic was the previous version, and there were 9 seasons of it, and there was also a movie made, which was fairly financially successful, and there was also a spin-off series called Equestria Girls. So, all in all, this was very, very well received, both by the target audience and by the wider internet, that came to really like the show. So, Friendship is Magic had a lot of in-jokes. There was guest appearances, such as John Delancey, who played Q from Star Trek. His character in the show was called Discord, and he was absolutely brilliant. William Shatner voiced one of the characters, and there are a lot of different celebrity appearances over the years. There were references to different series like Doctor Who and a lot of other series, and the show was generally very optimistic, quite inspirational. For example, one of the main characters, called Rarity, started a fashion company which grew over the series, so she was a very successful entrepreneur and pretty good role model. There was a lot of what you might call representation, a lot of different characters who had different disabilities and sexualities, but these were sort of never really too overt, which was quite nice because the characters were quite natural and organic, and there wasn't really any particular politics being pushed here. They were just interesting characters. Now, the show was never overtly political, but it did promote certain values. For example, democracy, individualism, meritocracy, a respect for difference, traditions, and family values. And most of these are shared by about 80% of the American public. This show became incredibly popular, had 9 seasons, and it's now over. The new generation, which started with this movie, is actually available on Netflix, and it's called New Generation. Now, this looks absolutely brilliant. The visuals of this are outstanding, and the graphics are great. They're sort of pretty high-end CGI, and it generally looks great. So the story is that unicorns, Pegasus, and Earth ponies now all hate each other, and they're all divided into different nations. The Earth ponies kind of represent America. The main character is called Sunny, and she's essentially an open borders advocate, and she sings a lot about destroying the wall. She even says we shouldn't build walls, we should instead have parties, which is interesting. Unlike everyone else, she's not worried about the Pegasus or the unicorns. The message itself isn't too bad, but it's just kind of the way it's related to US politics, which is quite strange, because it kind of assumes a lot of the population are quite stupid and will just believe anything that they're told, which is not true. Eventually, she does some sabotage, and she's generally quite a disruptive force as well. Now, we have to mention the 2 villains, more specifically the main villain, which is a pony called Sprout, otherwise known as Trump Pony. He's called Trump Pony because he looks very similar to Donald Trump, the former American president of the United States, and his mother, Phyllis Cloverfield, who he sort of looks up to. They own a weapons factory in the town, which actually produces defensive apparel. The products that they produce are quite ridiculous, but that's kind of a point. Hats, which look a tiny bit like the Trump hats, so they're kind of meant to be similar. In fact, later in the movie, they actually grow red. So as the story progresses, the Trump pony is made deputy of the town, and the main characters go on an adventure to bring about peace between the different groups. So he's left in charge of the Earth Pony town. He sings a very interesting song. The lyrics are really quite amazing. Outsiders creep up slow and steady. They're gonna steal, plunder and pillage. They're gonna take over the village. Let's enter a blind, irrational state. Better get nervous, better get tense. Better not let them catch you blinking. You don't need reason, fillies and gents. This is no time for sober thinking. So again, this kind of sounds like ridiculous propaganda, and a complete exaggeration of kind of what Donald Trump was saying, without any kind of context. Blind, irrational, unsober, panicked thinking. It goes on. Fight, see in black and white. Also, it's a bit rich coming from this movie to say think in black and white when clearly this movie clearly sees the Republicans as evil and the Democrats as virtuous. That's your pony right. Interesting they're attacking rights here. Numbers make you strong. Millions can't be wrong. Especially when they're screaming loudly. You might not have a bale of hay to borrow. Are you saddled with sorrow? Are you scared about tomorrow? Well, it's all going to work out painlessly if you follow my orders brainlessly. This is quite telling stuff. This is really how the Democrats perhaps see the public. They don't really respect people as individuals. They kind of see them more like sheep or something. Whoever wrote this movie had a severe case of Trump derangement syndrome. We end with a scene of Trump pony standing on top of what looks like the White House. The basic message isn't bad, but we should be welcoming to others, but it's just taken to the extreme, and the character of the Donald Trump pony is just, I don't know, a little on the nose really, because it's a complete exaggeration of what they said, you know. It's a bit like someone watched nothing but CNN for a year and then just wrote this movie, and it's not really done with any kind of love. It's just pure hatred for the other side of a political argument. You know, there's no redeeming qualities here. The Donald Trump pony is sort of weak and always sort of looks to his mum to help him. He's clumsy, he's foolish, he's always falling all over the place. He's unfit. He's basically everything that you might see CNN say about Donald Trump. This is a very biased way of looking at the world. Later we get another song which suggests we should rip out all the pages of your history books. Interesting. The three groups don't trust each other. In the end they do. Near the end of the movie, the Trump pony, the Stallion-in-Chief, which is an interesting title, kind of goes full dictator. We see him with Gaddafi imagery. Gaddafi the dictator. The general population are complete idiots in this, and they believe whatever they're told. And honestly, if you can't trust the people, then democracy doesn't work. Democracy only works if you trust the people to make the correct decision here. The Trump pony states everyone has been brainwashed, and then presses his big red button. You kind of hear the noise of like an ICBM or a nuclear weapon coming out of the ground, and it's Donald Trump pony's giant mech, his pickup truck mech. I thought this was meant to be a kids movie, but it's got references to ICBMs, nuclear weapons, and it's quite dark in places. It's honestly not too bad in some ways, but it's just so politically biased. So Donald Trump pony runs around in his American pickup truck, causing mayhem and damage. And of course he can't be trusted with the big nuclear button. This kind of reminds me of recent politics where General Milley apparently took away Donald Trump's ability to use nuclear weapons. Allegedly, Trump's vehicle tries to destroy the sort of magic of friendship, and he's eventually stopped. But the actual film, in a lot of ways, isn't such a bad movie, but it's just literally the political stuff that just makes it a little bit unwatchable. I wouldn't recommend you show this to kids because it's such explicit propaganda. It doesn't give any credence to the other side. It is explicitly Democrat. It is explicitly destroy the wall. I know that kind of stuff might be quite popular with some people, but I think they would have made a much better movie if they'd have gotten away from politics a little bit and they'd have just focused on the story. You know, the story isn't bad. You know, three groups who don't like each other are sort of united and then they kind of save the world. That's not really a bad story. It's just all the political stuff that they put in. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think, and I will speak to you soon.